But critics say many other companies are still failing dyslexics.
I'm joined now by Sean Douglas, who has dyslexia and quit his job because of his experiences, and also Kate Saunders from the British Dyslexia Association. You're dyslexic as well, aren't you, Kate?
Yes.
Sean, first though, you say in this job you had, you were given work that your brain wasn't made to do. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, well, I was employed as a video producer, and I'm employed for my creativity. And a big part of that job that was put upon me was filling in paperwork. And as a dyslexic, that's not something that I'm good at, and why employ someone for their creativity?
Because that's what you thought you were there for.
Exactly.
And do you think your dyslexia contributes to how creative you are?
I think it does. I mean, you had a few people in the trail that are creative people, and I think there is a little bit too much on the doom and gloom side about dyslexia. You know, I'm dyslexic and I have had a tough time, but I wouldn't change it because it makes what I do better.
What I couldn't believe is that you were actually criticised for trying your hardest, i.e. going in earlier than everyone else to overcome your condition.
Yeah, and that's something I come across a lot. You know, people say, why can't you do it how everyone else does it? And we are all divergent. We all do things in our own way. And for dyslexic people, we have to find a way around things because it's difficult. So actually coming in early is probably a better way for me to do it. But that wasn't recognised. It was, this is the status quo. We're unmovable on the way we want you to do things. It has to be done this way.
Kate, with what's thought to be 6 million people in this country who are on the dyslexic spectrum, if you like, most of us will know someone or have experienced someone who has it. But what is it?
There's a neurological difference, I would say. So there's a cluster of difficulties that a dyslexic individual might have. So most people think of reading, writing and spelling, but it can also be organisational skills, time management, prioritising, difficulty remembering things like telephone messages, series of numbers can be difficult. So even things like PIN numbers can be difficult to remember.
My own little brother is dyslexic, so I've seen someone grow up with dyslexia and how it can be misunderstood at school and then in the workplace. But I always thought, like Sean has described, he just had a different way of thinking about things, of seeing things.
Yes, and I think that's the healthy way to think about it, is it's a difference. And in society, we need different people who have different skills and abilities, because that's what gives us a well-rounded society. What's really important, though, is that people respect those differences, and what cases like this really highlight is that there's a duty on employers to make reasonable adjustments for dyslexics.
Yes, because this case of Meseret Kumulcu, the woman who worked at Starbucks, well, she said she wished Starbucks had got in touch with your association. You offer that kind of thing, do you, to go into workplaces and, offer help?
Yes, and we will work with them to become dyslexia friendly. We have a code of practice for employers which really sets out clearly what they should do in order to make their workplace dyslexia friendly. And it goes right from the recruitment process, through the way that they treat people, through the way that they train their managers and even colleagues to understand about the needs of dyslexic individuals, but also the strengths that they bring. And there are some very enlightened employers who will deliberately get a diverse range of people in their team, because that gives them actually a competitive edge in this world.
No, diverse in any way, of course, is an important thing. Sean, just to come back to you, I mean, we had a selection of important people there, famous people who are dyslexics. I mean, when we were putting that together, the list is as long as your arm. And right through history, I think Leonardo da Vinci was dyslexic, Alexander Graham Bell, who invented the telephone, was possibly dyslexic. It can be a big plus, can't it?
It can be, and I think one of the things about this story that I fear is that people will see dyslexic employees coming in and they'll be scared to employ them because they think a similar thing might happen. But if you do look through history, you look at the Wright brothers, you look at the smartphones we use today, they were created by a dyslexic. You know,
Steve Jobs.
Yeah. In 2014, GCHQ did a drive to find dyslexic and dyspraxic employees. So, you know, if they're good enough for the intelligence services, then they're definitely good enough for Starbucks.
Sean, Kate, thank you both very much indeed.
Thank you.
Still to come on 5 News Tonight.